Okay, we're back with the question 2012 and 2013, hopes and fears. So now we have the jolly fellow who just got out from under his bed, feeling confident that the Mayan prediction is not going to happen. Mr. Lingoy Alcuaz, who shaved his beard 2 years ago when Gloria left Malacanang, and now he's growing it again. Lingoy, what did you see in 2012? Were your fears or your hopes fulfilled? And 2013?
Actually, I made a big mistake. I believed in the Mayan prediction. So these past few days, I've been going around with a big orange bag of gifts, giving them away, thinking that it wouldn't be worth keeping well. But now it's already afternoon. Hindi nangyari, so now I'm regretting.
But the Mayan live in the American continent, which is 12 hours away. So
it's still 20. It's still
it's
December 20 here.
So there is 24 hours more of anxiety for you.
Number two, I found this bargain supplier of wristwatches na napakamura. So believing again in the Mayan prediction, I thought that if I give them away and they don't work longer than a week, nobody would know.
Okay, you are supposed to contribute the political insight, perspective, analysis, and assessment of the 2012 and 2013. What happened in 2012? Anything good or bad?
But my mind is not geared for a serious talk.
Go ahead.
Because
enjoy.
Next Friday, I have a date with, guess who? GMA.
Okay. President, ex-president,
yeah,
now congresswoman.
My agenda is to make her laugh.
Okay.
And
how do you propose to do that when her neck is almost splitting into two? And
that's what they didn't find out, that I'm the secret assassin.
Okay. I think that would be the good news for 2013 when that happens.
No, it's no longer good news because she's no longer in power.
Okay.
I only wish I could. I knew how to make Noy-Noy laugh.
I think I know the assessment of Lingoy on the 2012 and 2013. He has nothing good to say, so he's just laughing at it. Is that correct?
Well, yes and no. Okay. Actually, the reason why I haven't been writing since March. So I'm on vacation from writing, but I'm not on vacation from opinion because I'm still the delivery boy. It's because
Opinion is a weekly newspaper.
Yeah, because I thought, I thought that whatever I did or I wrote, I could not,
Do you have a copy there of
yeah.
your opinion? Can we get one copy so we can show what Lingoy is?
Get everything.
Maraming iba issues ba yan? Iba-ibang issues. So, isa lang ang dinala dito.
So I felt that there was nothing I could write that would make a difference. Unlike 2 years ago, when we were in our first year, I remember that the tide changed for me on our first our first day of issuance of opinion. That was the day of the Luneta massacre. Yeah. Now, since then, more blood has been spilled, although not of innocence, although not in Luneta,
like where?
Massacres. Well, recently in southern Mindanao, a year ago in northern Mindanao. No? So, if I were superstitious, which I'm only partially, I would say that the fortunes of the country, our fate is tied to our leaders. That's why I am...
Okay. Well, in a light manner, I say Mandy was linking it to the boxing events. You're linking it to, what's that? The stars.
Yeah.
I always say we look at the structures. But going back, every year you make predictions alongside some of the fortune tellers. Have you been with them lately?
Well, actually, I'm a bit shy. So unless people ask me, I don't want to give predictions. But the other night, I was with, of all people, Justice Antonio Carpio.
Okay.
And he asked me, do I have a prediction? And I said, not yet. I'm still binibilog ko pa.
Well,
Okay?
I have one prediction that Justice Sereno will continue, Chief Justice Sereno will continue to have problems with the rest of the justices in the Supreme Court.
Well, actually, one of the things asked of Justice Carpio was when the people around the table found out that Sereno was away, they said, so now you'll attend all the
Black
ceremony.
ceremonies.
Yeah.
And the next day, he appeared on TV.
Let me explain why Lingoy was with Carpio. They're classmates in Ateneo. Ano? But at the same time, did Corona attend, who is also your classmate and Carpio's classmate?
But this was not a reunion.
And
Neither Corona, Carpio, or Del Castillo, also a classmate.
Also a classmate.
Attended any of our reunions since December 27 or 28 last year up to December 8. Because we are the Golden Jubilarian class of grade school, 62.
Well, it seems your class is the curse of the Supreme Court now.
Well, we also had another classmate
Sino
who
pa?
was a SEC commissioner.
SEC, sino? Si
Si
Yasay?
Jess Martinez.
Okay.
So our class is very notorious.
Okay. We're veering away from 2012 and 2013. Is that deliberate because you do not want to discuss the gloom and doom of 2013?
No, it's not. If I were really sure about the gloom and the doom, I feel I have to share it. But I don't want to share confusion.
Let me focus. 2013 elections. What do you see?
In the 2013 elections, I feel that there was, unlike what I predicted before, that it would be a rout for the Liberal Party and the UNA would win overwhelmingly. What happened is that si Pinoy learned to compromise. So now there's hardly any genuine liberal in his slate. So his criteria for choosing the 12 candidates was winnability. But they still cannot win the whole slate. So I guess if you remove the common candidates, namely Cheese, Lauren, and Grace, and you're left with 9, I think that out of the 9, they'll almost split it. So it will be 5-4 or 4-5. And however, Pinoy being the president and Binay only being the vice president, Pinoy should have an overwhelming victory for his slate as opposed to UNA. So I think it will be a slight relative defeat for the administration.
Okay, so that's the politics or the electoral politics. During the break, we were talking about coup d'etat, which is a rare word these days. Nobody thinks about possible coup d'etat. But there is one condition that Liza brought up. If the peso goes below 35, maybe some people will start thinking of coup d'etat. Can you add to that, Liza?
Yes, because, well, a lot of us are dependent on dollars or on dollar income. So at 35 or below, let's just say 30 pesos a dollar, the BPO industry will be affected, though FW dependent families will be affected, and the people working in this BPO industry, they are the middle class. So if the government will not do anything, then the only recourse might be going on the streets to demand something to be done, and just look at what happened in the past.
So this is fair warning to the BSP, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. That's not coming from a political analyst, but from a regular, young, yappy, hard-working yappy. And she has no background in the military at all, but it's in her head. Lingoy's assessment is, at 37, rumors of coup. When it becomes an actual operation, I will ask Lingoy a little later. I'll ask Mandy, from the business sector, what do you think in this regard?
My input here is that it is the government has a stake in controlling the downslide or the increase in peso on account of our own very strength from the OFW earnings. If I were government, I would definitely protect 10 million or so Filipino overseas who are earning so much blood, sweat, and tears to bring to their families here. So any erosion of that income would be counter, So government has a real political stake to prevent such from happening.
Okay. Are there military or political forces that would
Wait, I would like to add first
precisely
to what
in
you,
relation
what
to
you
that.
said.
Yeah.
You see, there's a big difference between 50, 40, 30, 20 years ago and now. The exchange rate has always affected everybody, and it has always affected, let's say, the poor, the masa, even before. No, but the effect on the masa before was indirect, no? Because the number of Filipinos earning dollars abroad, no, or virtually earning dollars locally, because call center agents,
Yes.
I guess their income fluctuates, no? With the, okay. So today, as opposed to before, no, when the exchange rate fluctuates, it affects so many people, a bigger percentage of the population, directly. Nakikita nila yung, it's not like before, tumataas ang presyo ng goods, no? Or the reverse would be when an exporter, a manufacturer exporter, let's say, is able to export more goods, hindi naman niya pinapas sa employees, di ba? So, hindi nararamdaman.
But the employment, they'll have to reduce workers if their incomes really dwindle.
Yeah, but hindi ganun ka-direct yung...
Yes.
It's not like now that even the poor, let's say, they've learned to watch the figures.
Yeah.
Before, they don't watch the figures. Alam nila na, because the capitalists will always point at the external when it's bad for them, no? But when it's good, they want... they'll try to keep it.
Let me add that it's going to be worse this time because our entire economy is designed for dollar earning. Unlike Marcos's time in the second term, at the start of the second term, you had a boost in rice production. So even if the exchange rate was adverse for the peso, you had domestic production of a lot of your basic needs. This is not the case anymore. Well, even your garlic, your butong pakwan, your patis is imported. So this is a huge... people say, well, workers will come back. Come back to what? You have a real 11% unemployment and up to 40% underemployment. This is a formula for revolution. Unfortunately, the revolutionaries of the left are more confused than ever. So, Mandy, you mingle with a lot of these progressives.
Yes.
What do you read from their point of view? From there,
Precisely, there's less hopefulness from that end. In terms of the reading of the economies, whether it seems good on paper, it really does not sink in to the masses, So, even in their concepts,
never mind the
globalization-
masses. It's the middle class.
Exactly.
The masses are so used to it.
They
And
could have the forbearance to bear.
without leadership of the middle class, they just are in paralysis.
Exactly.
But when the middle class starts suffering, they fear this joining the poor, they will start leading the movement to have things change, right?
Yes, it's really the middle class who are the movers because the masses will just take what's upon them. But I'm talking about those who are in touch with the masses in terms of the middle class
yes.
portion, who will definitely or ultimately direct the movement of the masses, because you have to have a semblance of a mass support if you're staging such a coup.
Let me try to do some summary here at this point before we get lost. I think I'm able to magnetize everybody towards a more critical view, a pessimistic one, given the facts that there is no movement by government on the exchange rate issue, which I think is now boiling down to the essential issue, this exchange rate for the next years.
Yes.
And I'm saying there is no hope for that exchange rate trend to reverse itself because the United States of America is in a currency war already against the world.
Yes.
This term should be introduced into our discussion, is strategic devaluation by the U.S. economy of the U.S. dollar. I hear nothing from our so-called intelligentsia, columnists, and so on about this. I did not bring the book. Last time I brought it to show the public. The whole world is talking about the currency war. Dito parang tonto pa tayo. And I think the evidence that this is going to be devastating for the Philippines is here right in front of us. si Liza's case, ano? Okay. And so, I am giving fair warning also to Malacanang that they should look at the face of Linggoy Alcuaz and see the warning there. Nagpapahaba na naman kanyang balbas. Ano? Nung pinahaba niya, bumagsak si Gloria. Ay, humahaba na naman eh. Haba.
I'll confess to a secret. You know, pays for my barber bills?
Sino?
Malacanang.
Okay. Mandy, you were going to say something.
Sorry, I got lost
okay.
after a while.
Mamia, Liza.
Let me just go back to what you said about the Marcos era, rice production was high, coming from the Bondocs, from a farming concentrated community. It breaks my heart whenever I go to the supermarket and buy rice to see a lot of rice being sold in the market, Vietnam, Thailand. We are an agricultural-based community, and why do we have this country's rice in our supermarket? So it breaks my heart to see those things.
Yeah. Anybody? Mandy?
I'm getting back. You had a slight comment about why we are not reading this from the newspapers. I have a problem about newspapers in the context of I think they are under-evaluating the readers. You know, I seldom come across an opinion or a writer who will deal the facts straight off to the readers, thinking maybe that, you know, the reader sensitivity or sensibility is harm. But you are really looking at readers who would like to react to a truthful evaluation of situations. And we are not seeing this in our current crop of newspapers, except when I go to opinion, for example, and read some you know, unpredictable articles like MRT, you know, is going up, etc.
Well, I will claim some credit for stopping the DOTC and Malacanang in their threat to raise the rates, no? Then 2013 is another year of struggle to keep them from raising the fares in the MRT. We have 5 minutes, so please think up of your important messages before we end the show. Go ahead.
I think I mentioned this to you when we were discussing MRT. I said, if it were possible to make MRT free, at least, so subsidized really, it is the lifeblood of the economy. You know, I don't know if anybody of you is taking the MRT.
I take it almost every day.
I do.
And you could imagine the throng, the queue, and you know, hopefully they could complete it and just make it really relevant.
Let me say that the MRT and LRT are both earning money today.
But
Huwag tayo
it goes
magpaloko
interest.
Sa gobyerno at
Yes.
sa mga oligarchs.
Yes.
Kumikita ang MRT at LRT and the computations are there.
Yeah.
But again, media, except for a few,
Yeah.
are not
Prone to-
reporting this to the nation.
Exactly.
But I'm happy that some have picked up the issue and are helping already.
Okay.
Well, we should have a separate show for just discussing media.
Mentong, just
Before we forget, one very important item from Liza, babati siya sa mga taga-Ilocos. Liza, go ahead.
Babati ako sa mga nanonood sa Ilocos.
In Ilocano.
Ayan. Nimbag nga Rabio Apo, yan, lalo da Lola Diling, Lolo Flor. Hi sa mga taga-bundok dyan. Hello, kumusta?
Anya tikanen nga inton rabi.
Nalpas na nga nanganan.
Okay.
Tapos na sila kumain.
Linggoy, your hapol mo.
Yung sa MRT, LRT, there's a so obvious travesty. There's so obvious unfairness in accounting. Kasi ganito why is it that when it comes, they're both transport, whether rail or bus or truck or car or taxi, okay. But when you compute the cost, let's say for public utility that uses roads, they don't include the road in the cost. It's only the operation of the vehicle. But in the case of the MRT and LRT, they include the cost of the rails, no? So why I believe that what the government should do is, just like they build roads, build rails. And then let's see whether just the operation of the rolling stock, just like in the case of vehicles, no, whether how they fare out. No?
Okay. Well, we have our last 2.5 minutes and let's do the round. Ladies first, Liza, anong mga importanteng messages that you have not yet brought out?
Oh,
Or you want later?
okay, later.
Mandy,
pwede.
anything?
Yeah, if this is a sort of a summary, I said earlier,
Yes.
2012 was excruciating. Maybe in terms of how the economy went through and hurdle it. But 2013, hopefully, should be hopeful. And I was saying earlier that we see some semblance of an increase in the aspirational level of people. And by the way, we missed something in our discussion. It is the participation of the NGOs or the nonprofits. Of course, in my analysis of the NGOs and nonprofits, they seem to not have been, doing the critical impact. But hopefully, the real impact will come from the NGOs or nonprofits.
Okay, well, regarding the NGO, we'll have a separate discussion on that because there are good NGOs, foreign-funded
Exactly.
NGOs who work for foreign interests, and we've just seen in the RH bill and the sin tax law, that again we have gifted the U.S. these new laws that are for them. Liza, and maybe if we have time, Linggoy.
Okay.
Liza.
I hope that everyone will have a better financial future for 2013, mas mataas na income, and so that we can focus on what we want to do, like yung MRT, to help the government decide on
I will have to
fair.
attenuate that. You hope for better income. I tell you, it will not be better unless we take action. Linggoy, last 30 seconds.
Well, the past year, 2012, was very bad politically for the Philippines, for the administration, for everybody. Next year, what I predict is that it will be more pragmatic for the administration. So the question is, where will principles be?
Okay.
After all, they haven't been alive and kicking so much.
Okay. So far, you've heard the assessment. The real question is, what are we going to do together?
Right.
Because I tell you, all these hopes are meaningless unless we have a plan and a program that addresses the issues. Maybe in next year, we'll have another discussion on our solutions to the problems. Okay, maraming salamat. At happy holidays, happy 2013, if we make it so. Okay, so